Parnassus was the place traditionally in Greece where the poets gathered and the gods looked down and the muses existed. What about if we ask a poet from every single competing nation to come and gather, and it would be a world record of gathered poets, but we could also write a world record. We could think of saying to the poets, what do you think the world is thinking about? What do you think the world is doing? What would you give as advice to the world? And we realised that it was a ridiculously ambitious idea, and so we were definitely going to do it.
Had I had more courage, I would have said, "But you know I love you. You know I admire you. Don't make me say it again."
This high above the world, in between time, I can't help but wonder, now that we have left our country, who will turn off the lights?
Poetry Parnassus is a world poetry event. We've invited up to 200 poets from different Olympic countries. We think there are about 150 poets have finally arrived, and there are another 40 poets whose work is being represented across the South Bank.
I prefer nightmares. They show you what goes on in here reflects what goes on out there.
That poetry truly does transcend language, because I've been hearing Latvian, Hungarian, Maltese, I've even heard of countries that, I'm ashamed to say I didn't know they existed.
Do bico dos pés até ao cimo da cabeça.
My favourite moment of Parnassus so far has to be Rain of Poems. Because you see people running around, people who don't even like poetry, all of a sudden flocking to gather poems like trading cards.
I write for men, women, and children. Anyone who felt alone, anyone who felt the song. I write for the bones buried in the country I call home.
I had an elevator chat with Wole Soyinka, and I was too starstruck to ask for a photograph. So my big regret is not getting a photograph, but the moment that I will tell my grandchildren, or at least my sister's grandchildren, about would be I talked to Wole Soyinka.
It's a great thing to have everybody here, 200 poets from 200 different nations. It breaks apart that whole idea of an old European centre with a whole lot of edges and provinces which report back to the centre. So that's the thing it does for me. It makes me feel that on my pulse rather than just in my brain.
The politicians, they are constantly meeting. G7, G27, G19, whatever, decide how to muck up the world. So, no reason at all why poets should meet and decide how to muck up the world in their turn, in their words. All I know is that it always feels good to be among other poets.